What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be about Hawkeye, 7-star Hawkeye in particular. He's been out for quite a while now. I believe he's in the base pool of 7-star champions when the 7-star characters were first released. I believe Hawkeye was part of that base pool, and he has been buffed for quite a while now. I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago when Hawkeye got his buff. And I feel it kind of flew under the radar, and maybe not for bad reasons. Maybe it just wasn't the best buff. But regardless, I felt like giving Hawkeye a fair showcase today and comparing him to other characters in the skill class for damage output, and just seeing how he holds up, if he holds up at all, at the 7-star rank 3 level. Now, I think Hawkeye is very fun to play, first and foremost. He has the perfect release mechanic, which, if you know anything about me, you know I love Kate Bishop. She's one of my favorite characters in the entire game. And I love the perfect release mechanic, especially using it without slowing down time, like I just did right there. I love doing that. I love learning that timing. It makes me feel like I'm an active participant in a game rather than just tapping and swiping. I feel like I'm actually influencing something that could be positive or negative by learning a new skill. So right off the bat, I like that Hawkeye has the perfect release mechanic in his kit, and I think it's very fun to use. Secondly, I think Hawkeye has a decent amount of utility. He has a very strong power drain and a nice suppression. He deals bleed damage, which is direct damage, so it can't be reduced by any sort of resistance outside of bleed resistance or protection. And the bleed also is a physical vulnerability, I believe. Each bleed decreases the opponent's physical resistance by a certain amount, so that's another level of utility, as well as having a slow on his heavy attack. So he definitely has some decent utility. Now, is it all hyper relevant utility for the modern game? I wouldn't say so. I think slow is still very relevant and will always be relevant, but all of his other pieces of utility, like the direct damage with bleed, he's not the only character with bleed. The power control is very nice, especially for the skill class, having power control. Not a very common thing in the skill class. If common at all in the skill class, I'm not sure off the top of my head if there are other skill champions with power control at all, or to the level of Hawkeye. I could definitely be wrong, and I'm probably going to just pull up Aunt May to look if there are other skill champions with power control, like power drain and stuff. But I believe Hawkeye in the skill class is the best power controlling character. So I'm looking at Aunt May right now just to reconfirm my original uh, claim there. So yeah, Gwenpool has Enervate, but that's not really power control. And from the looks of it, that seems to be the only other character with some sort of power negation. I guess if you want to squint and say Valkyrie has power control, you could say that, but for the most part, it looks like Gwenpool is the only other character in the class with some sort of power negation, power control. So for the skill class to have that, for Hawkeye to have that, it's very nice. So that is definitely not something to overlook. But for the most part, I think Hawkeye is a perfectly rated character. I think people who have Hawkeye and rank him up to the rank 3 level as a 7-star will definitely see some fine results with him. He has decent damage and good utility. I don't think that makes him a perfect option for Alliance War or Battlegrounds content, but it's not like he wouldn't work in there. I'm showing off this fight right here. This is a Battleground simulated health pool, around 300,000 health, with rank 3 natural SIG 80 Hawkeye. Yes, I've pulled Hawkeye 5 times. And this damage is fine. Like, that's very decent damage without class advantage. 36 seconds for a rank 3 7-star. Nothing to write home about, but definitely not bad. Definitely not something that you're going to be like, "Oh, that's terrible for a rank 3." You know, nothing like when Arcade first came out and we were all very disappointed with that. I also wanted to show off the bigger Star-Lord. This is 900,000 health, and ideally, if you're using a Hawkeye in health pools like this, you want to go for your special 3. Hawkeye does have a very strong trio of bleeds that come from his special 3 if you can nail the perfect minigame from it. And I believe, comments can please correct me if I'm wrong, but the cruelty from the Black Panther relic is increasing the critical damage of his critical bleeds. That should be how it works, because it's increasing his own critical rating, and the critical bleed is based off of his critical rating, so that's why not only the relic cruelty, but also stat focus should increase the bleed damage from the critical bleeds. But look at that right there. That's 3,600 bleed. every single tick, so that's over 7,000 bleed damage per second. And every time Hawkeye hits the opponent, he pauses all of his bleeds for 1 second. So that 60-second bleed from the special 3 is more like 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe if you're playing aggressive and the opponent is throwing specials. So you can have a very solid amount of uptime on high bleed damage for as long of a fight as you need it to be. You know, if you're going against a couple million health and you want to use Hawkeye, you absolutely can. I think the problem with Hawkeye is he's trying to do a lot in a class that already does more than him. And I feel like the class, in terms of damage output, has bypassed Hawkeye pretty significantly. And I'm going to show that here right now. So I have a couple of fights with other relevant skill champions. Of course, I had to include Cade Bishop, just showing off how close Hawkeye is to being at that level, but not exactly there. This Cade Bishop fight actually surprised me because the final time here is shocking for Hawkeye, not for Cade. This is not a shocking time for Cade, but looking at it with this knowledge now in mind, it's a very solid time for Hawkeye, now knowing the time that Cade gets against this. So this is rank 5 Ascended, no boost, no synergies. This is just Cade Bishop at the highest level I can have her without boosting, and that was only 35 seconds, so Hawkeye was only 1 second slower. Now, this is a rank 5 Ascended 6-star, not a rank 3 Awakened 7-star. So it is a little different, and the rank 2 Hawkeye would be substantially slower, probably maybe 6, 7 seconds slower than the rank 5 Kate would be. But regardless, he was able to keep up at the rank 3 level. So right there, you got to give him a little bit of grace. I know it's not the most insane damage, and you're going to see he's going to get blown out of the water by some of these nukes. Stealth Spidey finishes this fight in such ridiculous time because he is a nuke. So Stealth Spidey is absolutely a nuke in the purest form. I believe he either has the fastest or the second fastest time for this Star-Lord fight. So it goes to show that there's just so many better damage dealing characters in the skill class than Hawkeye. Yeah, so the fight's already over with Stealth Spidey. That was 29 seconds. And if we go look at these next two fights here, this is Massacre, rank 3 7-star Massacre against the same Star-Lord. And you're going to see that Hawkeye, he just can't keep up, man. I think the thing that differentiates him from Kate is the damage type that Hawkeye has, Bleed. It's much more common to be immune to Bleed than it is to be immune to Cold Snap. So that's where Kate gets the edge against Hawkeye. And then right here, I mean, fight's already over with Massacre. That was 20 seconds. 21 seconds with Massacre. So, yeah. I also did a Mantis fight. I got hit a little bit, but I'll just skip to the very end where I charged my heavy. And you'll see that the time here, even for a rank 2 7-star Mantis, it's still faster than Hawkeye. Now, what does all this mean? What does this mean in regards to Hawkeye? Like, do I think Hawkeye is bad? Do I think Hawkeye is not worthy of being ranked as a 7-star or even being regarded as a good character? Yes and no. I think Hawkeye is kind of in a nebulous state where he exists in a class that outclasses him substantially. And he can keep up to a certain degree, but eventually everyone around him is just going to outrun him to the point where you kind of forget he's a character in the game and he falls into a semi obscure nebulous kind of state where you pull Hawkeye and you're never happy about it because you know you're never going to use him because you can name at least 5 characters off the top of your head in the skill class that you would use over him. Like I just showed. I mean, Mantis, Massacre, Cade Bishop, Stealth Spidey, and then I think that's all I showed. Yeah, and then I could have shown the new Black Panther, but I feel like that would have been burying Hawkeye even further. But regardless, I think Hawkeye is good. I think he's fun, and I think he is useful. But in a class of good, fun, and useful characters, he falls into obscurity very fast. So if you all like Hawkeye, if you know somebody who likes Hawkeye, let me know. If they have any content on him, I'd love to see it. Because Hawkeye, you know, he doesn't really get any love or attention because, like I said, he kind of is in that state where he's good, but other characters are just better at what he does or the concept of what he does. So he just falls into obscurity and nothingness, basically. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to showcase Hawkeye at a rank 3 level. This is a recommended video. I believe someone in one of my live streams recommended me revisiting Hawkeye, so I figured it was a good idea to make a dedicated video. So shout out to that person. This video is technically for you, but it's for everybody as well because, I'm making the video for the channel. So again, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments below who else you'd like me to revisit at either a 7-star rank 3 level or maybe 6-star rank 5 ascended. If there's somebody you want me to revisit and compare to modern characters in that class, let me know. I'd love to do a video on that. I like videos like this. So again, thank you all very much. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers, so the moment we hit 50,000 and maybe a little less, I can negotiate. I do plan to do another free-to-play account, potentially a Valiant speed run or something along those lines. So that should be fun. So yeah, if that's any motivation to subscribe, I really hope it is. And yeah, thanks again. See you in the next one.